Hi, everybody. It's Jay, and I am back in the booth with you for another sneak peek video preview for this week's new release here on Say with Jay. This week, our new release is A Cowboy's Calm Strength. It's the 6th book in Jessie Gussman's Sweet View Ranch Western Cowboy Sweet Romance series, and I've got more about the story and a live preview reading for you in just a minute. But first, as Jessie has been doing, she has included a recipe within the scope of this story, and we thought it would be fun for me to make it for you here. So it's time for yet another segment we like to call Cooking with Jay. This time, Jessie's recipe is used a bit out of context, at least with regards to the name. We're making Christmas morning biscuits and gravy casserole. It's, I guess, named because it's something that's easy to throw together on a Christmas morning when you've got lots of family around and you don't want to spend a whole lot of time in the kitchen. And in fact, it's really easy to make the night before, stick it in the fridge, and then pop it in the oven on Christmas morning or any morning when you've got lots of family around to cook for. It's also really simple with just a handful of ingredients to put together. But for me, there was a moment of learning, I guess you could say, because it taught me how to make the easiest and best sausage gravy I've ever had. Without any further ado, let's jump in and make this, but as always, don't worry about trying to capture the ingredients or the recipe or the directions in real time. I'll have all of that in the description of the video down below. All right, now let's get started. As you can see, there aren't that many ingredients to make this. First, let's start with the casserole ingredients. You're going to need 1 package of refrigerated biscuits in the can, like Pillsbury Grands. Personally, I like the original style rather than the flaky layers or any of the others, but feel free to use whatever variety you like best. You're going to need 6 eggs. For the casserole part, you're going to need 1/2 cup of milk and 1 cup of shredded cheddar cheese. For the sausage gravy piece, you're going to need 1 pound of ground sausage. You can use whatever variety there you like, regular, hot, sage, whatever variety you like best. You're going to need 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour and 2 more cups of milk. Now, secret ingredient here. You need 1 tablespoon of chicken better than bouillon. It adds a fantastic flavor to this gravy. I've never heard of doing this, but I won't make it any other way from here on out. And then you'll need black pepper to taste. So let's get started. First, let's make that sausage gravy. In a large skillet, you're going to want to brown your sausage, break it up into little pieces, and let it brown. And once that's done, you want to sprinkle in your flour. Stir that to coat the sausage really, really well, and let that cook for about 2 minutes. Next, you're going to add in your 2 cups of milk and your bouillon, your tablespoon of bouillon, and pepper to taste. And then you're going to let that simmer until thickened. A tip here, it will thicken as it cools some, so you don't want to let it get too thick in the pan, maybe just a hair less than you would want it to be when all is said and done. Also, if you ever want to have just sausage and biscuits, for instance, this is an excellent way. I mean, you can use the sausage and gravy if you want to stop right here, but we're making a casserole, so we're going to continue on. And to do that, you're going to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Then in a medium bowl, you're going to combine your eggs and your milk. Mix that well to combine. You're going to open your refrigerator biscuits and cut each biscuit into quarters. Next, in a 9x13 casserole dish, you're going to add your cut-up biscuits, top that with the scrambled eggs mixture. Then, on top of that, gently pour in the sausage and gravy and try to spread that out as best you can. And then finally top that with your cup of shredded cheddar cheese. By the way, I won't tell if you want to add a little more than a cup. Then all you do is stick that in the oven for 30 minutes until the eggs are thoroughly cooked and the cheese is all nice and melted. This is what it looks like when it comes out. All that's left to do is plate it up and serve. It is absolutely fantastic. You can make this ahead and stick it in the fridge. All you would do if you want to do the make-ahead version is bake it for an extra 5 to 10 minutes, but that's all there is to it. I hope you guys will try it. It is absolutely fantastic. If you do try it, please let us know how it goes down in the comments. Okay, let's talk a little bit about a cowboy's calm strength. It's the story of Tillman Steiner, who has come to the Sweetview Ranch from Montana. Tillman was Ezra Clyborn's roommate in college, and in the years since then, he's gotten married, and his wife has recently left him and divorced him in a rather contentious and bitter divorce that not only caused Tillman to lose the ranch that he's worked his whole adult life for, but also to lose custody of his children, his 2 young children, who he is desperately fighting for a way to be able to see on a regular basis. He, understandably, comes to the ranch a rather bitter man with regards to women, at least. Ezra has brought him to the ranch because, as you know from the previous books in this series, the Sweetview Ranch has been struggling to some degree to stay in the black, and the family has decided that the thing that might push them over the top is a rodeo. And while the Clyborns have worked a ranch their entire lives, literally, they don't have any experience putting on a rodeo. That's where Tillman comes in. He does. So they bring him in to help organize the rodeo, and Ezra sets him up to work with his eldest, or one of his eldest sisters, she's a twin, Phoebe. Phoebe has, in her life, kind of taken on the role of the family's surrogate mother since they lost their actual parents in a car accident some decade and a half ago. Phoebe has kind of sacrificed having any sort of regular life in order to make sure that her younger siblings are taken care of, that they've been raised right. She's homeschooled them, has done most of the cooking for the family, that kind of thing. And Ezra has some matchmaking in mind when he puts the 2 of them to work together. Now, how that goes, I won't say. I don't want to spoil it. But I will say that they get off to a rather inauspicious start. As you might recall from the previous book, Mina, the young girl who is staying with the Clyborns because of some family difficulties of her own, she has asked Phoebe to help her with a fundraiser for school. kind of like a lock-in where she goes to jail to raise money for the school. And Phoebe has just done that. Well, that's how the book opens. And as she's leaving, she meets this stranger in Rockerton who, little does she know, is the man she's going to be working with. Maybe it's better for you to just hear it. Here is one of the opening scenes of A Cowboy's Calm Strength. I hope you enjoy it, and then come back this Friday for the full release here on Say with Jay. Tillman Steiner walked down the street in Rockerton, North Dakota. He was supposed to meet his new boss at noon, and he had a few errands he needed to run in what he understood to be the closest large town to Sweetwater, which was the location of the ranch where he had been hired to coordinate a rodeo. The job was right up his alley. Rodeos ran in his blood. But he was used to owning his own ranch, not working for someone else. His divorce had changed the financial situation in which he saw himself. His wife had insisted on splitting everything right down the middle, and he hadn't had the financial resources to buy the ranch outright, nor save his prized herd of horses. The alimony agreement had wiped him out. So he sold his horses and the ranch as well. It pained him to lose everything he'd worked all his life for, but what good was a ranch if he had no family to share it with? He flexed his jaw and continued down the sidewalk, glancing across the street at a lawyer's office beside a dentist and financial services. On his side of the street, the jail loomed up, the old building perched at the top of about 6 steps. A woman had started down the steps, and he slowed his stride almost imperceptibly so that she would pass in front of him, and neither of them would have to stop. Focusing on the items that he needed to get done before he started his new job, he almost missed the blur of motion as the woman, apparently still tipsy from her lockup the night before, lost her balance on the steps, her arms windmilling as she took 2 steps in quick succession, trying to catch her balance as she careened down the steps. He moved without thinking about it, lunging forward, reaching his arms out, and grabbing the woman before she crashed to the sidewalk. It looked like they let her out a little too soon. She could have used a few more hours to sober up. Except she didn't smell like alcohol. She smelled like apples in spring and laughter around the campfire. He blinked, shaking his head a little, as he carefully steadied her before dropping his hands and stepping back. "I'm so sorry," the woman said, her cheeks pink, her eyes horrified. He would assume from the expression on her face that she didn't typically get so drunk that she couldn't walk a straight line or keep her balance. "No problem, ma'am," he said, tipping his hat. He intended to go around her, but she swayed, and while he was tempted to roll his eyes and fought to tamp down his irritation, he still couldn't let a woman fall down in front of him, no matter how inebriated she was. Nor should it matter how good she smelled. In fact, the better she smelled, the more he would be tempted to walk away from her. Nicole always smelled good. But not like this woman. His ex did not have the fresh, wholesome scent of western sky and rain on flower petals. Still, he didn't know why her scent moved him so much when her actions irritated him beyond words. Nicole enjoyed her alcohol as well. Her shoulder bumped against his chest, and if possible, her cheeks burned even brighter than they had before. "I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what's wrong with me, other than I guess I was sitting too long." "Maybe you shouldn't drink so much, then you won't have such a hard time sleeping it off." He didn't mean to sound surly, but he supposed he probably did. She acted like he wouldn't know she was drunk. Of course, he didn't smell alcohol. When his dad had come home smashed, he'd always been able to smell it on him. The woman froze, her eyes shooting to his as she placed a hand solidly on his chest and pushed off. "I don't drink," she said, but her voice sounded confused, like she was asking a question instead of making a statement. His lips pressed together at the obvious lie. "Of course you don't," he said, giving her another couple of seconds to make sure she had her feet under her that time before he tipped his hat again. "Have a nice day, ma'am." He didn't want to have an argument, and he didn't want to get in a fight with a stranger on the street, especially a drunk stranger, especially a drunk female stranger. He didn't want to have anything to do with females, drunk or otherwise. Not after what Nicole had done to him. Pain shot through him at the thought of his 2 children. They were 7 and 9, and he'd had such plans for the things they would do together as they grew. He wanted to swear and use Nicole's name in the middle of it, but he pressed his lips even tighter together as he strode away. He wasn't going to blame the bad things that happened in his life on anyone but himself. Hi, this is Jay, and thanks for listening. If you're ready for another great audiobook, here's one we think you might like. Or check out the playlist with all our latest releases. Don't forget to subscribe to Say with Jay, give this video a thumbs up, and tell us what you liked in the comments.